I've gone ahead and constructed our frame. These are the 4 columns in place. I've added some textures I think really help it read better. I've left these connectors white only because it's very hard on when we get to the interiors to actually see some of the details of these connectors if they're dark. But we've got a mass timber floor deck now. And the idea here, once again, this is, let's go to some other view here so you can get an overall look at it. We have our, let me rotate around here a little bit. Actually, you can see now in the end detail how the connector goes through, and it's sitting on either side of the mass timber. It looks like I have a duplicate mass timber in here. I don't know what's going on there. Let me click out one of them and then get out of that. And probably have duplicated the same thing on the other. No, I don't. So there's a little problem with the renderings on the end details, but all in all, I think it gives an overall good representation of what we have. Let's take a look at the east elevation. And I'll just render it up a little bit to be clear. So you can see the mass timber floor going through the end view of the girders and the columns in position. And a look at the south elevation. And the idea here is this is, in the east elevation, it was 8 feet wide to the very outside edges of the structure. In this case, I've made this 28 feet long. Let me grab a, so that's 28 feet long that way. And the distance between, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to, is 4 feet. And that'll get mirrored over, so that corridor will be 8 feet long. Okay, so with all of that in mind now, one of the next steps is this has been created in a project environment. It hasn't been done in a family environment. And what we want to think about is how do we keep working with this module and duplicating it and then still be able to go back and edit it. So one of the ways is obviously to think about it as a family, but an alternate way is to take this whole assembly and group it. And we'll call it the frame group. And we're going to open it in an editor. And I'll click OK. And now it's actually another document now. And if I go ahead and finish, I could go back and see it now as a group. But here's what's important to understand about this now. If we go over here to groups, and my screen is a little bit, and we open up the model, we now have a frame, the actual grouping here, but it's called a model. And if I right click on this, I can save that group. This is the critical element in understanding how we're going to work going forward with this module. I'm going to save this in the video, but I'm going to call this file frame. And now I can always go back to that reference document and edit it, and then treat it just like I would. So if I go now and open up the frame, I have just the frame itself, but I'm still in a Revit project environment. I'm not in a library or a family environment. So I have all of the tools I need to add things like walls and fixtures and ceiling planes and everything else. So this is a much more useful environment for us to work in with our buildup of our module. And then when we've completed any kind of work in this, we can go ahead and load that back in. And I have to find out where that is. We can go to model group and we can load, this is also critical and a little hard to find. under architecture, if we go to model group, we can load this group back into open projects. And you'll notice now it allows us to load that back in. So I'm going to cancel this for a minute, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of wall on the floor here. And I'll pull it down so it's not, but it's just there to show you. And I'll go ahead and actually save this. And I'm going to go and load this back in as a group into the open project, our module. Sorry about that. And it's already in there, so it's just a same kind of warning, kind of an overwrite warning. And when we go back into that environment now, and we look at it from a 3D view, we now have our wall in that environment. So this module now is just like a family element, except we're working with it in a project environment, and we can go back and forth. Once again, we get access to it over here on the model. If I click on this, it will allow us to edit it and open that environment. I'm not sure here yet. It wants us to open it for editing. We click yes, and we're back to that environment. So that's going to be the tool that we use going forward, or that I've used. And obviously, once again, if you have another methodology that you think is more effective, feel free to use it.